Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Check. Brad?
Lionel?
Have you ever had those times when you think to yourself, this is going to be a long night?
I have had those, yes. I have. Are you currently having one of those?
No, I just, it's a premonition I'm having.
Okay.
I just, with our guests, we have multiple guests tonight.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. But every time I ever watch that What's Neat This Week show, I'm always like, what's the deal with that Ken guy?
I understand. I get it. Yeah.
you know he's the dude, eh?
I have heard that it's his name, the dude. Yes.
Yeah, he's the modeler simply known as the dude.
Well, he's got to be pretty cool then if his name's the dude.
Oh, he's beyond cool. So tonight we're gonna
no doubt.
Tonight we're gonna interview Ken Patterson, the internet sensation, the model railroad internet sensation of around the globe of model railroading. He has this show called What's Neat This Week.
That is exciting.
And then he has another show that comes on once a month. It's also called What's Neat This Week, which I don't fully understand that, but or maybe
it's probably a little bit above us to understand, but yeah. We can still have fun with it though.
And then he has
if we had to understand everything in order to enjoy it, we'd be in trouble, I think, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I'm choking on my cookie.
Oh no.
And then I bet you Ken's walking around the room now. He probably got up. He's left his microphone. He's now walking around the room because he can't sit still. So, thinking ahead, I thought to myself, the trick here is to get those other guys on. James Reiger, and Mike Budde. Oh. And then there's this other guy, Joshua, something or other. Joshua, the annoying guy or something. I don't know what part he plays on the show.
All right. Okay. Are you going to be all right, buddy?
No, okay. I'm already choked up because it's going to be a long night.
I gotcha.
You know what? I'll have a drink of tea. See how that... Carry the conversation for a second.
Okay. So we're getting ready for an interview here.
Okay, that's enough.
I must not have done very well.
All right. So I want you... let's call these guys in from the green room. Joshua, come on in with your buddies there.
Hi, guys. How are you?
That voice right there.
How are you?
Yeah, voice right there is Joshua Barton.
That's right. How is everyone tonight?
And what did you were telling
fantastic.
You were telling me earlier, Josh, when we were organizing this interview for the podcast, the Modeler's Life podcast. Well, you were telling us, me and Brad, the stubby professor, that really What's Neat This Week show really is nothing without you.
That's what my pre-production notes say. That's what I know. I remember writing that down.
Well, that's what Ken says all the time. So I just go by what he says because he's the one that pays the money.
So what are the other guys? Just background noise, or?
Well, he told me that the show was nothing without me too.
See, and he told James the same thing. So
he tells everyone that ever shows up in his basement the same thing.
And notice how we're always his favorite.
Exactly.
So that other voice you hear is Mike Budde. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, everyone.
I'm
Mike.
You are an awesome modeler. You should meet. You know what, Brad?
What?
We got to get Mike Budde and Scooter together, Scott Lister.
Oh, yeah.
These two guys are modelers extraordinaire. You would love meeting Scott because he's modeling. Mike is at the same level as yours, just extraordinary.
Wow. Well, thanks. I really appreciate the compliment.
And then James Reiger.
Hey, everyone.
What do you do on the show?
I do not know. I show up.
He's our resident 3D modeler.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see you got some of those on the table there.
Yeah, those are scans from Bernard Helen, and he sent me the files, and Ken wanted 6-inch prints, so I did that.
Wow. Is that one on the far, Joshua? That's your far right.
This one?
Yeah, is that you?
That's Michelle, isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
I can't tell.
Ouch. You're
oh, look,
that's
Ken's
response. That's Holly over there on the side.
Oh, okay.
That's Holly, and then Mike, and then Daniel, and we have Vic Smith here, myself, James, and then Ken's on the end there.
Who's Vic Smith?
Vic Smith has a layout called the City's Edge.
Right.
And he's a friend of ours, and he got scanned recently. So he's one of my inspirational people for model railroading, just like Mike and Ken.
Yeah, if you guys ever make it out for the RPM meet here in St. Louis, you got to check out his layout.
Yeah, he has open house pretty much every year during the St. Louis RPM.
How many open houses do they have during that? Because
this year they had 4 different ones, and then there's a lot of private layouts that, if you know someone, you can get an invite in.
How many layouts would you say are in the St. Louis area? Layouts that you know of that are, I don't know what the right word is here. Help me out, Brad. Quality or of scale model railroading quality. How about that?
Ken, you want to chime in? Mike, you guys probably know more people in the St. Louis area. How many layouts do you think there are in St. Louis altogether? Guess. Just guess.
Ken?
Speak Ken. 700.
Talking to your microphone, Ken.
Yeah, talking to the microphone.
Ken, talking to the microphone.
I would say there's probably 700-800 layouts total. The ones that you know about, the ones that we've seen in the NMRA publications and these layout tours over the last 30 years, there's probably 35 exclusive, of which you've got Gary Hoover and Eric Bruman. You've got a lot of notary authors here in St. Louis that have been writing for the model press for the last 35 years.
I've been thinking for a while we should get Eric Bruman on the podcast. Do you think he'd be up for that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's not much of
well,
we've been to his layout. I've been probably 4 times or so, and he never wants to be interviewed. He doesn't want to be videoed.
Yeah, he's very private.
He's more than happy to have you take pictures and videos of his layout. But yeah, he's
that's
a very private man, which you can respect that.
Well, and it's an incredible layout, the Utah Belt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been around for how long has it been? Joshua's now signaling Ken.
See, you need to turn the
no.
Yeah,
We're leaving the camera on for you guys. This is special. We never leave the camera on, but you guys are special.
We're always behind the camera. It kind of sucks to be behind the camera all the time.
But I'd say there's probably about a dozen layouts in the area that are on the round robin operating group. That
okay. And are any of you guys involved in that round robin operating?
I have been, but as the kids' activity schedules have gotten more busy, I've not been able to make as many.
Ken?
What?
Yeah, he's busy editing all the time.
What?
He never goes anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But I was going to ask Ken, do you have operating sessions on your layout?
Well, there was a period of time when I had this industry in the corner, which is still there, and I had 2 switch engines that worked, that we did drop off 2 tank cars and pick up 2 tank cars, and the caboose still had to be on the one side of the train. So it would take everybody about 7 minutes to figure it out, but it was kind of fun. But no, I don't. I run around in circles. I model for the run-by effect. I create a scene, and I want to rail fan that scene, and I want to see a train run through it.
Yeah, because you have a spectacular layout.
It's not that great. Look, there's a lot of people have. Look, I mean, come on, let's get it straight here. The BNSF Fall River Division, okay, John Parker, that's a layout, okay? What I have is
he in St. Louis?
Multiple modules around the edges of the walls.
I think he's in Colorado.
Exactly. We're talking about St. Louis, Ken.
He's comparing his layout to a greater layout is the
right.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, some people spend as much as on a boat. There's no doubt in my mind that Fall River Division's at least $250,000 in acute artistry. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. A painting is still worth more. That just really tells you where we rank.
Yeah.
A painting's worth millions. And how long does it take to paint a painting? Look at Bob Ross. You could whip him out in no time.
Right. 30 minutes or less. The way that Ken models his layout is 6 or 8 foot at a time. It doesn't necessarily have to all go together. He wants that picturesque opportunity to see a train run through. So he has, a part that's the Mississippi River. He has a part that is a little creek that runs through town here with a nice bridge. There's different sceneries for different shots. He always wants to have the picture. He doesn't care about the whole run through. I don't feel.
Yeah, but
so is this Ken's layout we're seeing in the background where you guys are sitting up?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very cool.
And it goes all the way around the basement, and the base size of the basement is
60 by 30.
Oh my word.
Yeah, exactly.
The first layout, oh my God, the first layout that was down here was a 4x8 Tyco layout, 1974. But let's fast forward to 2007. I had just sold the Midwest Valley Modelers layout. So that was going to move out of my basement. And Phil Wathers was coming in because I was doing the 2002 Wathers catalog. So this is 2002.
Can I have that real quick?
I had 4 inches around the outside walls of the basement. I had 1x4s running around the outside walls with a switch yard. And it was to a height where you could sit in a chair and see it go right by you. So I could have it go over the top of my workbench. And it was my layout. It was for me. And I had to have that thing built because the Midwest Valley Modelers layout went out of here. I was working on that Wathers catalog. Phil was going to bring me the original pre-production model of that Allegheny that was going to go on that shot. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to at least have something down here running when he got here. So I worked all night, got this thing up and rock and roll. Yeah. And then I raised it about 7 years later to the height it is now. And then built a real layout down here. I had my house on the bluff and all my neighbors' houses and Mississippi River and barges, and it was a real layout. And then I got tired of it and changed it again. I threw away my house. I threw away the bluff. I just changed things.
Your house is still there.
Oh, I also went narrow gauge crazy around 2013, and I triple railed this, 3-railed it, dual gauge they call that.
Made it into line.
Well, I had Blackstone as an account, and I started reading all the books on the history of narrow gauge, and I just wanted to build all of it. It was such an amazing story. 15-mile-an-hour running. It's just fabulous. Scenery becomes bigger that way. I don't know. So I got over that. Now I'm back to mainline running.
Are you
opportunity to?
Yeah, Brad.
Do you see what's in the lower right-hand corner of the screen there?
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah,
relax. We'll get to that.
Okay,
we'll have to get all of it. But I don't see Brad.
Lionel.
I don't see any Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Oh, there's a whole slew of refrigerator cars back there.
Yeah, I know, but Rapido Trains is our exclusive sponsor. So we have to put in a plug every once in a while for our exclusive sponsor, Rapido Trains.
I love that jingle.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Yeah. So how long have we been on the air now? About 2 hours?
Yeah, it seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, Ken, you have a spectacular layout, whether you want to admit it or not. I've seen the layout more than once. I'm always impressed. It's a spectacular layout, period, end of sentence.
Okay, you were here when the narrow gauge stuff was going up the middle of the room.
I have a video of him, you, and me.
Wasn't that log mill cool? And that trestle was cool. It was its own little world. If I didn't have this HO scale layout, I would have been happy as could be with that little narrow gauge thing because it wasn't too big, but you still felt like you were going on a journey somewhere else.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Why did you take it out?
Because I needed room. I weighed it out. How much money could I make building that layout and shooting video, or how much money could I make if it was an open space down here to create the podcast show and actually have space for people? It all became down to dollars and cents. What's more feasible for what's going on right now? I still got to pay the bills. I mean, it's really cool to be able to play trains all day long and create this content, but at the end of the month, you still have to have electricity and all that other stuff. Yes, and food.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about the money for you.
Every single month. I do. I celebrate making it another month. That was a very expensive divorce I went through 3 years ago that I did not know about.
Oh, so, you got divorced and you didn't even know about it?
Well, I didn't know.
He wish he didn't know.
He found out.
I was happy as could be. Okay. I didn't know there was any problem. Seriously. I mean, really? I mean, look at all the podcasts we did together. The last one in particular, I think it was June 12th. I love you at the end of the show. You're a great wife. I'm so happy. What a great world I have, But what I didn't look at was the look she had for about 2.5 seconds after I said that. I didn't even notice that in edit, but I noticed it after I found out what was going on. So yeah, it's about the money. Just a long story short, isn't everything about the money usually? Because without that tool, you can't do the rest of it.
No, see, for me and Brad, it's all about fellowship. We'd be happy. Brad and I have agreed that we'd be happy to live in a van down by the river.
Oh, yeah.
In Maui, yes.
Because that would make us even more happy just to be able to say that, and it was true.
And, you could still be inspirational.
I like just living on a house on the river. Let's just keep it that way.
Okay. Mike, do you mind if we talk to you for a minute?
Sure.
You don't have a layout, do you? Or do you? I don't know anything. I don't know anything about you, Mike. This is why we're having this show.
Don't you watch our videos? We did an introduction of when we met Mike Budde. It changed my world. It changed everything. It was a game changer because he taught us oil paint weathering. He taught us how to go through the trash and make a Southern Pacific wrecked boxcar. This guy is, I said this on a show 2 weeks ago and I meant it. And I've known him so long, I shouldn't even be saying this, but it's real. This guy is absolutely just phenomenal at modeling.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry. Did I get started? I was so quiet at the start of this show.
Yeah. Lionel wasn't even talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I thought for a second maybe Mike was the world's best ventriloquist there. I got a little bit confused.
I'll tell you what.
Okay, so I've seen Mike. Mike, I know you. You and I have met. We're friends. Blah blah blah. But I don't really know anything about your model railroading background. So let's start with a simple question: are you like everybody else, or the majority of people? Did you get started as a kid?
Yes.
Right.
Most definitely.
I got
Lionel at age 4, and then I got my first HO gauge set up at age 10, and I thought it was so much more realistic, and it I could put my Matchbox cars with it, and it was really good. But it all started from there, and I've pretty much had a layout ever since then. Every time I move, I build something, But now I've been in this house for 20 years, and I have a basement layout just like Ken's, where it goes around the edge. But then I have a couple peninsulas coming off the middle, big, massive yards. But every inch of it is covered with boxes of stuff, and I'm kind of like a hoarder, only of all train stuff. So I've got everything. I think every piece of train stuff I had since I was a kid.
Oh, really? You're one of those guys.
Wow.
See, I don't keep any of my old stuff. Now, let me ask you this question. This is a real philosophical question, Brad.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Did you imagine when you were 4 years old with your train that you'd ever meet a guy named Lionel?
No, that's a good point. Fact,
there aren't many guys who can say that their first train had their name on it, but Lionel can.
Very true.
Right. Yes.
This is true, yeah.
So
I did know another guy named Lionel. I worked with him at Target when I was as a teenager.
Oh, okay.
You're not the first.
He was the Lionel in St. Louis.
Yes.
You're a lifelong St. Louis guy, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I've moved away a couple times, but I ended up moving back here and raising my family here and everything.
So has anybody ever seen your layout other than you?
Well, we used to hang out there, and before we started doing this podcast, we used to hang out and run trains and have like show and tell at different guys' houses. And last time we did that at my house was 2014. So everything since then, that's when Facebook started, the internet came along, and I quit building models, and I was just online all the time.
Right.
But
I had a question. Hang on, let me think of it. It was a good one too.
okay.
I can't remember what it was now. Damn, it was good.
God, I hate that when it happens.
Yeah,
on
and
the
I hate
show.
that when it happens.
Well,
yeah,
if
when
we
he
start
talks
talking about something else, it'll come to you.
Yeah,
During
he
the
was
edit, I
talking about
remember it.
he was talking about hanging out at his house and all that. And I had a good comment.
You've
Now I
been
can't
here
remember.
a couple times. You interviewed a bunch of people in the backyard on that train deck one time.
I
think
did.
you interviewed Dirk Reynolds one time.
Yeah, I know.
And you interviewed.
But right now, Ken, we're not talking to you. We're talking to Mike.
Talking to Mike, buddy. Lionel, you want me to just start muting his microphone? I'm right next to the soundboard.
Cut his mic.
So okay. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I remember now. Can we get one thing straight? Like going forward from this point, can you four guys agree with me and we can get one thing straight? You do not do a podcast. You do a video show.
Okay.
I'll go as far as a vlog, but it's more of a YouTube video show. You're not doing a podcast. This is a podcast. This is a podcast.
Okay.
All right. It's a,
What's the difference?
I have
one has video and one does not have video.
Well, one is specifically designed for download onto your iPod or your iPhone or whatever, and this is streaming on YouTube.
Can you do video on Patreon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could, but nobody wants to see my face. Trust me. I don't do video well. You've seen me.
You can hook up your.
I think you do video just fine.
Patreon if you want.
You've been here and stunned the audience.
Yeah, stunned. That I would agree with. I stunned the audience.
You've got a Patreon account, right?
Me?
No, Lionel does.
Lionel does. Yeah.
I have what account?
And that's no. I'm sorry.
Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah.
It's a platform to share material.
So
and then people give you donations.
Me being a listener, I can go to Lionel's show, A Modeler's Life on Patreon, and I can pay $5 a month, and I can listen to all of his shows and back shows. Correct, Lionel?
Right. On Monday it's free, and then it's Tuesday. It's not a donation. You're purchasing a different podcast on Tuesday. Monday's show is free. That's where we draw in the audience. And then on Tuesday, we have our down home back porch kind of podcast. And then if people want to listen to that, they can join Patreon and they can listen to all the Tuesday shows as well. They get twice as much podcasting every week. I put out two shows a week. I put out two shows a week, Ken. Two.
I'll show you mine. You show me yours.
What does that mean?
I'll tell you what that means. Our podcast show, right? The thing we do every Saturday night.
Yeah, that's a video. It's not a podcast.
It's a video show.
Okay, we just
our video show.
Our show makes between $140 and $154 a month with YouTube views. How much does Patreon do you make on that?
I'm not telling you.
I just showed you mine.
I don't make quite $154. I make $3. I make $89.45.
So we're not making it on YouTube videos. I mean, you see those kids that fill up their swimming pool with the little balls, or the guy that had 2 semis of peanuts and he filled up his house with peanuts. That got 47 million views. That guy made $154,000 in YouTube money in 1 week, and the guy makes one a week.
I would have popped a whole house full of popcorn.
Yeah,
like in real.
There you go.
You know what? You know what? Ken, fill your house up with peanuts and see how you do.
Yeah.
No.
That's the difference. This is model railroading. And
none of us are in it for the money because none of us get any money. So I mean, we're doing it for the love of the hobby.
That's right.
That's what this is all about.
Brad Joshua has mentioned that before. It's kind of a sore point for him that he's not making any money off of this.
Yeah. Ken gives us all these zeros. There's just nothing in front of the zero.
Yeah.
So Mike.
Yes.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch with Mike, we met each other at a St. Louis Cardinals game. We'd met before that, but we were also met at. I want to know, how did you get into? So now you're a prolific modeler of vehicles in primarily HO scale, I'm assuming.
Well, I actually am also just as prolific in 125th car model.
Okay.
So I have twice as much stuff in my basement as everybody else who's just into one hobby.
Okay. Well, how much time would you say, like, time split percentage-wise between the two?
Well, I go back and forth all the time. Like when I was trying to get stuff finished for this RPM all spring, I was working on the auto racks full of Camaros and Firebirds that I was working on to finish for the RPM. And then after that, I kind of took a break from everything just to not do anything for a while. But now I've been working on a few 125th scale cars, trying to get them painted before the weather gets cold. So, yeah, I have a spray booth, but I didn't change the filters often enough, and the fan blades are coated with paint, and it makes a horrible noise, so I don't use it anymore.
So, okay, but let's
I'm really bearing my soul to the world.
Well, exactly. That's the difference.
Never
between
said that on the podcast.
That's the difference. That's the difference between a podcast and a YouTube.
We're going to talk about your spray booth on the podcast tonight.
Yeah, we
how
are.
to clean the squirrel cage fan.
So are you guys going to do a show? Are you guys going to do a show? Are you guys going to do a show after this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Why am I not? Why am I not on that one?
We got the sign guy.
Why am I?
Signs.com.
I know that guy. That seems really cool. That's Kale. I'm going to interview that guy. Tell him I want to interview him.
He is a very cool guy.
He'll probably be here before we're done with this, so you can talk to him on the show.
No, people can't walk into the studio, Ken. You got to lock the doors or something.
The door's locked. It's not locked. It's an open door policy around here. We never know who's going to walk in on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
it is wet paint,
that's
though.
not so good.
Well, that's why we got that one guy that shows up. We call him What's Neat Security.
Yeah.
Doug.
Oh, Doug, yeah.
He's a brick wall, man. I like to just run into him all the time. It's fun, just as fast as I can.
We've had a couple unsavory people that he's
show up,
and
we didn't realize it until they were here, and it was pretty nerve-wracking.
Yep. Yes.
So how do you? So you just let anybody walk in?
Sure.
Yeah.
They let me just walk in one day.
Well, I understand that, but you're kind of normal.
Well, it's pretty intimidating. If you make it up that driveway and through the front yard part, that part's pretty intimidating. So once you're up here, you're probably already on your way.
Yeah.
Joshua, he stopped at the bottom of the driveway once and turned around and left.
I did.
I know that's a great story. Actually, you told us that when we interviewed you. Tell us that story again.
So, in a nutshell, I learned on your show when you interviewed Ken in your infancy of your show that he lived in St. Louis, and so I Googled him, and it'll go right to Ken's Art Photography 1, and it shows his address. So I pulled up to the driveway, and it was a Saturday, and I just decided that I couldn't go through it. So I turned around and I left, and then it must have been 2 years later. I met Austin Allard over Facebook and went to his house a few times, and we were talking, and we were talking about Ken. He goes, I go over there all the time. And so the next Saturday I met Austin over here. He was already here, and that was the first time I came to Ken's. Yeah. It was an amazing experience.
And you're an integral part of the show.
I am.
And it's all because of the AML network.
That is absolutely correct. You are the catalyst that brought Ken and Mike and James and myself all together.
You probably bring a lot of people together and don't even know it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. My buddy and I crashed Tomstock one summer, and it's history in the making ever since.
I mean, yeah, and all the people that Lionel's had on the show way back in the day, all the way up, Bruce Kelly, and I mean, there's so many people that I've. I feel like I'm friends with them Bruce Kelly and I, once we met, I mean, we were instant friends because of the show. It was just, it's amazing, not only this hobby, but your show, how you just make everyone feel so comfortable to talk to you and open up that we're all just very close friends and know all about each other.
That is true. But everybody should know that anybody that's never met Ken or James or Mike or Josh in person, you guys are all very welcoming and very friendly and you're all very approachable, which I think is really...
I definitely want people to know that we have a very gigantic disadvantage in that, because Mike and I go all these different places and people will run into us and they feel like they know everything about us because they see us every week, and we have no clue who these people are, and always try and be friendly and open and want to learn about them and, ask questions about them. But, that's a huge disadvantage for us that everyone knows who we are, but we don't know who these people are. So,
Mike, this is going to sound rude, and I apologize in advance.
Okay, I'm ready.
He's ready.
You seem a little. You seem like you're a guy that's a little bit introverted, not very much. I've always never had any. So, do you find it kind of overwhelming, or did you in the early days? Because I've heard you guys talk. Do you find it overwhelming? Say you go to the RPM show in St. Louis, and a lot of people come up and approach you and want to talk to you, and people you don't even know who they are, but they know you from the show. Do you find that intimidating, or do you enjoy it, or?
Yeah, I end up enjoying it, but at least a month, 6 weeks ahead of time, I'm stressed out because I know that I'm going to be pulled in so many directions at once, and I truly appreciate people's, it's very gratifying to know that so many people appreciate what I do. But I'm just not very good at small talk, and I am very introverted. I just don't feel comfortable. And it was hard for me to get used to doing this podcast. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's video show.
Video show. And, but just to get used to being in front of the camera, it didn't take long. But then another thing I just recently did at this last RPM was interview a few manufacturers. And we got a lot of positive feedback on that. Just the fact that there were so many different, we were all doing separate interviews, and we were able to cover more small manufacturers that way. And plus, it was more interesting to watch the video with different people doing the interviews. I think. I was able to watch it all the way through, and I'm not a podcast or video show guy. I don't really watch anything.
Yeah, I thought you did really good. Actually, I was quite pleased with how well you did. And I, like I say, I know it's hard for you, but you seem to be enjoying the challenge.
Yeah, I do, and but I'm an old guy like you, but we never stop growing, Well,
how old are you, Mike?
I was born in 1954, same year as you.
That's right. Yeah, you need to see a doctor, buddy.
I have. It's not good.
All right, I just want to finish up. One of the main question I wanted to ask you, Mike, and the main discussion I wanted to have with you is: have you found, because you're such a prolific modeler, HO scale in cars are your thing, which is great. When every week you've got some other really cool thing to show on the table. But have you found, is it kind of overwhelming that how much the hobby's changed in the last 10 years and what you can now manage to build and stuff?
Well, what's overwhelming is that I can't manage to build it. I'm jealous of all these new lighting effects and everything, but I'm just technically challenged. And, I haven't had anybody over to my basement. And Daniel keeps saying he's going to come and help. And I know he's pressed for time too. So I feel guilty having anybody come over, but I can't get under there and solder anymore with my 70-year-old body. So, I'm kind of, I am amazed though at just how far the sound and the DCC and all the different lighting effects and electronic stuff. It's truly amazing. It seems like we're in the golden age of the hobby now, but I know it's only going to get better.
Exactly. That's the crazy part. Yeah. It seems like I always tell the story. I met a fellow named Henry Freeman who lives on the East Coast. I can remember meeting him at a convention 25 years ago. Us talking about it was the golden age of the hobby, and that was back in the Atlas yellow box days.
Yep.
But all the locomotives ran so well on those Cato chassis, it seemed like we were in the golden age of the hobby.
Well, one thing that really has blown me away in the last 10 years is the 3D printing explosion and the quality of the prints that you can get now versus 2013 or 2014. And I'm a big vehicle guy, and yet I get 3D prints in 1/25th scale too of models that you could never get as a plastic kit. And then there's so many HO ones that I've gotten from like Mad About Cars, Jens Jan. He was available. His models were available through Shapeways, but he had hundreds of North American vehicles. And so good news is Showcase Miniatures is going to pick his lineup. They're going to start with N.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
Hopefully get into HO scale. So.
Oh, they're going to do N. You hear that, Brad?
I did hear that. Yes,
Right.
They're stuff. I have bought stuff off of Shapeways from them, so I'm glad they're going to be. They found another outlet there.
Well, yeah, Jens Jan has been working on some Ford pickups. I don't know what year, like maybe early 2000s, but he's got like crew cab and cab and a half, and really the quality. It looks to me just as good as HO. Which you can't even really say for plastic injection molded. I have a full scale 78 F-150, so I bought one of their 78 F-150 models and painted it like mine. It's on my layout. Yeah, that lifelike model wasn't good enough.
Pardon me?
I said that lifelike model wasn't good enough for you. That 78 Ford truck.
I couldn't find one of those, but I found one on Shapeways that did the trick. So
sure. I've got bags of those old lifelike trucks that I bought to load my auto racks with. So
okay,
but yeah,
how many of those trucks that we photographed? You got me driving around South City chasing foreclosures back then, and every time I saw one of those trucks, I took a picture of it. We had red ones, blue ones, black ones, and I showed you all these pictures. You're like, wow,
right. Yeah,
that's because of you that I went and did that. But we've got the research for the lifelike trucks,
right?
And never did.
Well, autos and trains have always been intertwined. With me, I love cars so much, and when I was 10 years old, I saw my first auto rack full of new Chevys coming out of this Chevy plant, and I was hooked on mixing the cars and the trains, and I've just kind of refined. I've built models all along, and I've just kind of refined what I've done until I've...
Was kind of sad when they started going to enclosed auto racks, wasn't it? You don't know what they're carrying.
Right.
Well,
by the time they did that, the cars were getting kind of boring to me anyway. I'm a fan of the 60s and 70s cars. I have a 69 Chevy myself, and
cool.
That was fun. And when the cars changed looks every year, when new cars came out in the fall, you could see them on the trains before they made it to the showroom. So that was always fun. But then kids throwing rocks and stuff had to put it all to an end. Theft.
69 Chevy. What Chevy do you have?
A Malibu convertible.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I got that. I got it right before I got married. I've had it 38 years.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, I thought your truck was a 77.
That has since been debunked.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, there was confusion with the headlights around that year. I always thought 78 was the first year for the square headlights, but they were mixed that year.
Yeah, they were. I actually have two of them, but they both have the square headlights. Yeah.
You got two headlights. You got two headlights on your truck.
Two trucks with square headlights.
Okay.
I love it when Mike does that on the podcast show.
What?
You sit there and you talk what you just said about those trucks, the differentiation of the headlights.
Oh yeah.
You do that about some of the most minuscule details, but when you do it, it's like, oh my God, I love learning something.
If I ever have a car question for an older car, I always take a picture and send it to Mike and go, what? Then he tells me all about it.
Auto rack that Bachman announced last month. I mean, where in the hell did that come from? But it's an accurate prototype of the Frisco prototype that they built down to the car number.
Right, a 50-foot flat car, but it was just a one-off experiment, kind of like those Tyco and Lionel auto loaders. Yeah. You know, those did exist, but there was only like two of them, and then there was only this one Frisco prototype,
right,
for the one that Bachman's coming out with.
Hey, Brad.
Yes, Lionel.
Do you think Rapido trains?
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's HO, the fast track is Rapido.
Is kicking ass.
Yeah, they are. Oh my gosh.
Jason Schron. I'm so impressed with him. I need to get him on our show and just hear him talk.
Where's your microphone, Ken? It can't be near your mouth.
I'm impressed with Jason Schron's
Murphy. Yeah. Oh my God. Would somebody please tape that microphone to his chest or something? Oh my God. I cannot believe, Ken, you have any kind of a successful show. You can't even hold the microphone.
This is his first podcast. Okay, you got
I'm off the
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right. Yeah, this is our first podcast.
Yeah, first
Well,
podcast.
yeah, it's your first group podcast. Ken was on years and years ago, smoking it up outside while we were doing the podcast.
Oh, well,
Nice.
let's do that tonight.
Yeah. What's stopping us?
I didn't know we can smoke it up.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can. I've talked to you guys when you have been. All right, James, let's find out some about you because you're also a secret to the world for me anyways. I mean, you and I have met.
About James. We don't know anything about James. James, who are you?
Ken.
Yes.
Are we
Here, I'm
talking?
just gonna, I'll mute him right now for you.
I think it's bold of you to assume that I know the answers to those questions.
Yeah. So you've been on the YouTube What's Neat This Week show quite a bit, and since when? Like lately, it seems like you're there every week now.
Yeah, since about spring 2019 or so. Started coming to Ken's basement, and I think I met Daniel at the Boeing show. I think it was the spring Boeing show, and I was like, "Well, I've seen Ken's layout a lot, and I recognize you. Could I go see it in person?" He's like, "Yeah, drop on by." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's a quick drive for me," so I just did.
You know what I think we should do right now? I think I think we should just basically invite the entire AML nation over to Ken's house.
Come on over. We'll be here till about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah,
We start taping about 8 o'clock. So
anytime you want, just 8 o'clock St. Louis time.
Yep.
Anytime.
That gives us an extra hour to get there, I think.
Exactly. Anybody out there in the AML nation that wants to stop by at Ken's anytime during the week, just drop on by.
Yeah, any day or
2
night.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., we don't care.
24 hours a day. He's open.
And you apparently can get the address off of Google if you need to, too. So
Yeah,
Just
that's right.
break the back window. Come on in.
I've been the proud.
I'm joking. Don't break any windows.
I've been the proud. Yeah, no breaking windows. We're kidding. Just call, get a hold of Ken, and he'll be more than happy to have you over. But I've been the proud recipient of many late night calls from His Majesty Ken.
His Majesty.
Yeah, like 1:30 in the morning, my phone, and at 2 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, my phone goes off. Hey, Lionel, what are you doing? Well, it's kind of like 2 o'clock, Ken. I was thinking of going to bed.
I was thinking of continuing to sleep.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, he knows I'm a night owl too. All right, let's get back to James.
Okay.
Seriously, Mike, I thought you were in your mid 80s. Seriously.
Well, I know. I look young for my age.
All right,
James. So, are you a lifelong St. Louis? What do you call St. Louis people? What are they like? Toronto people are Torontonians. What do you call St. Louis people?
Assholes.
St. Louis.
I don't have control of editing.
We don't have to worry about it.
I don't have to do anything. This is
right.
awesome.
This is a podcast. This isn't video.
Yeah, they're all four of you are there. So we're going to talk to all four of you, Ken.
Yeah.
All right. So James met and showed up here because of Daniel, it sounds like. Now, did you get ignored the first couple times you was here?
Well, I more or less, yes.
Yes, that's how it is.
And in those days, there was always a big crowd in the basement to start off with the podcast. I think there were about 15 people there. Next week, I brought a few models, ran them around the layout a bit, and had fun. And Ken spotted the ditch lights on a Kato GP35 that I'd made over Santa Fe, and was impressed by them, and then had me on the show one week, and so. Then the rest is, I guess, history. That
you did that model for James Wright that blew us all away.
That track mobile. Yeah,
that he shoved all those lights in.
Oh.
That was right after you started.
That's how you got noticed because of your work.
Yeah.
Okay, so once it's your good looks and all that stuff.
The plane with the propellers.
I don't got much to run on in terms of good looks, so
All right.
Well, don't you? He's also involved with the train layout at the Children's Museum, right?
Yeah, I was. Yes,
Magic House, yeah.
Not anymore.
they've sort of moved away from that a bit.
Oh, they've cut back.
Yeah.
Budget cuts.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, they took a bunch of train stuff out of there. From
Really?
what my nephew said.
That's the way to encourage the hobby.
Yeah. No kidding, eh?
Unfortunately.
And where was that you were talking? Where were you guys?
This was the Magic House Children's Museum here in St. Louis.
Okay.
In Kirkwood.
In Kirkwood, and they had an HO scale layout that someone had donated from their basement. It was a modular construction representing Colorado circa 1950s, and it wasn't really ever designed as a display layout, and so the needs for a layout that you'd put in museum are very different from the needs of a layout that you'd have at home. You wouldn't expect to run your layout at home 24/7, and
right.
Although the museum, of course, had opening hours, everything's almost constantly in operation. So all the turnouts had to basically be soldered into position, so that they wouldn't be afoul of any trains moving by. They had a fully automated operating system based on reed switches that would send the train a quarter of the way around the track with each button push. They also had several DC run shuttle systems, where the
He's nervous.
I know.
where the cars would, or where the trains would just run back and forth, sort of with the push of a button.
The thing I remember you saying though, everything within like arm's length had to be like really sturdy, because
That's right. Yes.
kids were always reaching in there to try and grab stuff and break stuff, and
they had glass around it, and the problem really wasn't their kids, but because they couldn't reach over, it was often the parents that would reach over and grab stuff to show their kid, or lift their kid up so that their kid could play with the models.
I know that one structure you showed us, with the roof all collapsed and everything.
Right. And so that was a perennial problem, and that sort of thing. But then eventually it got to, with my responsibilities editing at Model Railroad Hobbyists, and with the kids' activity schedules and all of that, it just got to the point where I couldn't make it there anymore as regularly as needed to happen to get the layout operating reliably.
Yeah.
So
what happened to it? Do you know?
I don't know what's happened to it. I just eventually got frustrated with the whole situation and handed in my resignation.
I wonder if it's still there, or if it's probably long gone.
Unknown.
Are you, James? Are you still involved with Model Railroad Hobbyist?
Yes. I'm still assistant editor. And in fact, Mike Dodd, the copy editor, and I will be writing have begun a series of articles on 3D printing to sort of get people not only into getting familiar with the process of printing something, but of designing something as well, so that hopefully people get a better grip on the magic behind and science behind 3D printing.
Right.
Is 3D printing hard?
The printing itself, not necessarily. Designing objects can be a bit of a challenge, and there's a lot of it that can be self-taught fairly easily. But because it's something that involves technology, there's a lot of people that have there's a certain, I guess, for lack of a better word, mystique that sets in. Like, can I really mess with this? There's some kind of magic to this. Well, I mess it up, and really, it's just something that you can teach yourself.
No, it's, do I want to spend $600 on a machine that I don't know how to use? And oh, by the way, I got to frickin' learn how to design stuff on CAD or whatever. It's very intimidating for the person. We covered the 3D printing in 2015, and I thought we were on the cutting edge at the time.
Well, it's advancing so rapidly that it's hard to keep up with.
That's when you had the Dremel.
But
Idea 3D Builder, and then we used that computer program called...
what was it?
It was something really SketchUp or something.
SketchUp. It might have been, and SketchUp still exists. I use Blender as the primary designing software.
This guy that's coming tonight to be on the show knew something about 3D printing yesterday, and he said there's a fabulous program you got to get. It's like he called it the Cadillac of programs.
Yeah,
you're going to enjoy talking to this guy tonight.
Why do you have somebody else on the show and not me?
We had you on the show 2 weeks ago.
Oh, and is that enough? Really, once a year? Do you really think that's enough?
You can be on the show anytime you want.
Uh-oh. He's kind of sounding like he did at the beginning now.
Yeah. All right, James. So what is your interest in the hobby? What is your like Mike is in cars and stuff like that. What is your interest?
I've essentially, so my dad got me my first layout really just months after I was born. It was another Lionel layout.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 43.
Did you imagine that 39, 38 years later, you'd actually meet a guy named Lionel?
I hadn't necessarily, no. Although we did have someone in our extended family of that name. So
okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
Boy,
but seriously, you're 43?
Yeah.
I had you pegged in your early 60s. You need to see a doctor, buddy. They walk right, Brad. They walk right into it. Come on, give me a break.
They do. It was another 80-mile-an-hour belt high fastball that you crushed.
Yeah, give me a break.
Is my microphone muted?
It's no. Yes, I've been muting your mic when you're not talking. And sometimes when you were forgetting
to turn it back on.
James is as close to a doctor that we have. I mean, if you take my education, formal education, and probably Joshua's and Mike's and roll them all together, James has got to speak.
Well, then put the mic near your mouth.
This guy is educated. He's been educated.
Okay,
formal.
well, we haven't got to that part yet. We're just asking him questions. This isn't, you know what, Ken? This isn't like What's This Week, where it's half an hour of you talking. We're actually interested in our guests.
Oh, yeah.
Remember there 2 weeks ago, Joshua, did you notice 2 weeks ago, whenever it was I was on the last time, and about 15 minutes in, I said, why am I here?
Yes.
I vaguely remember that. Yes.
I'm polite to my guests, so I don't beat them up.
We hadn't quite resolved that matter even half an hour into the show. I think you had to ask that several times.
If I recall, you got beat up pretty bad in readers' comments there.
Who, me? Well, yeah, I guess so. Nobody likes me though. Don't worry about it. Everybody.
They thought you were picking on me, Lionel.
Well, I was.
Let's just clarify.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
I hope
like Kettle Black.
Now you've identified the schoolyard bully.
That's right.
They weren't wrong about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. If I'm not talking about you, then I don't like you.
So I need to give you a Three Musketeers bar and invite you over to play trains.
There you go. Exactly. We got to get back to your layout, anyways, Joshua. All right. So James, what's your thing in the hobby?
So yeah, I've basically been modeling all things Santa Fe really, and so far it's much more of a collection than an actual layout. Layout remains in the planning stages. One of probably the first, and I'm not sure how it's all going to tie together. It'll be somewhere something wheat belt focused. I grew up in South Central Kansas. Spent a fair amount of time in Southern Manitoba.
Wow!
And so the layout will probably be tying together those two.
How did you end up in Southern Manitoba?
My mom was from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What part of Manitoba? What are you pointing at? What are you pointing at, Joshua? Joshua, what are you pointing at?
I'm going to sit right here.
Okay. All right.
I'm not moving.
Okay. So what's going to go on? They're going to
see what happens.
They're going to interrupt Lionel's podcast, and we're going to get in trouble with Lionel.
I don't interrupt it. You're interrupting.
Oh, there's people. There's people showing up. Is there?
Yeah, there's people showing up, and
that's just normal.
Okay.
They can just sit here and watch.
Okay.
Can you get Ken to keep the microphone closer to his mouth? It was much better before.
Are you
there?
That's the magic there.
Yeah.
I love this microphone.
Well, then use it.
Hey, just Ken, you wanna
Come in.
okay. Well, you wanna talk to me? The
No.
window's open right there.
Hi. Come on in. Hi.
Yep. So anyway, you were asking about
I was asking about
whereabouts in southern Manitoba.
right.
So
Where's that at?
It's just
in
above
Canada.
In Canada.
just above North Dakota.
Just above North Dakota. So my grandfather had a farm near Gretna,
Okay.
and that was one of the first models I brought on the show, a model of the Manitoba Pool elevator there in Gretna, and also had relatives in Brandon and Winnipeg, and now pretty much all of them have consolidated to Winnipeg.
Okay.
So
Go
No-
Brand.
How about St. Charles, Manitoba? Did you ever go through there?
St. Charles,
That's
I may have driven through at some point.
Yeah, it's about 80 miles west of. It's about 80 miles west of Winnipeg, southwest of Winnipeg, and it is the Lionel capital of the world.
Okay.
Meaning trains or people named Lionel?
People named Lionel. I'll tell this story quickly. You guys have never heard it because you barely ever listen to the podcast.
Some of us more than others.
Some of you more than others, exactly. So, long story short, somebody that my uncle knew in the World War II he was like 92, 93 years old, and I went to visit him because he turned out he knew my uncle who passed away in World War II, and so I went to visit him. And they lived on this gigantic farm, 5,000 acres, the three brothers. So I'm out. So of course, I stayed with them because they were super hospitable. And on the Saturday morning, we're all out in the farmyard, and the one brother says, "Lionel, you grab the tractor and go feed the beef in the second pen." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, I start to move, and he's like, "No, I mean my brother Lionel." So his brother was named Lionel, but his nickname was Punch. Well, then that Saturday night, we had in the little town of 5,000 people. They had a whole big deal because I had come to see his grandfather, blah 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 blah. And it turned out there was like a half a dozen guys there named Lionel.
Wow.
It was like a common name in St. Charles, Manitoba, and it's like the Lionel capital of the world. So that's my little story.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So let's get. I have a question I want to ask all four of you guys individually. So we'll start with Joshua. I'll work our way around the room, and we'll end up with Ken because I got a feeling Ken's answer is going to be much more convoluted. Longer and convoluted. Joshua, what is the magic of this hobby? That's my one quest for this podcast is trying to understand the magic of this hobby, because when you're in the hobby, you can't get out. For some reason or other, you can't get out. And the bonus of this hobby is the friendships you make. And they're not just friendships like passing acquaintance friendships. Like even if you take Mike and I, we met each other through this hobby. And if I came to St. Louis, I could call Mike up and say, "Hey, let's go to lunch." And we don't know each other really, really well, but we know each other well enough through this hobby that we have fun having lunch together. So what is the magic of this hobby, Joshua?
Well, I think I think it comes in stages. The initial magic of the hobby is watching the train roll around while you're a kid, building the tracks to your future almost. And I did a lot of that by myself as a lone wolf. And then there was a whole new magic when I decided to share my hobby with these other people. And, you hit it on the nail on the head. It's the friendships that make this hobby what it is. I can be home right now running trains all by myself. I can do that in a basement every day that I come home from work and need to decompress. But it's the phone call to Mike saying, "Hey, this is what I'm working on. Come over and check it out." Or, Ken's 2:00 calls and us, just talking about train stuff for 2 hours straight, not even realizing we're on the phone. It's not only the trains and the technology and all this stuff that makes the hobby that much better, but it's definitely the friends that make this whole thing just work. I mean, I love trains, but these friendships and relationships that I've grown and nurtured and developed every week for the last 10 years. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, the hobby is absolutely exploded because of social media and the connections you can make with people.
Right. Definitely. We wouldn't even know each other if it weren't for that.
I mean, we're all different people, walking down the street. I would never have just talked to Mike out of the blue. Well, unless he wore one of those cool t-shirts that he wears all the time. But, Ken and I are completely different people. James and I are completely different people. But it's the commonality of the trains that bring us together. And I mean, I feel like we're the best of friends, I mean, that makes this podcast just so much better. I feel that people see that in the camera, that we're all good friends and we all hang out other than being on the show. So,
I'm learning.
Attaboy you, Mike. What about you, buddy? What is the magic of the hobby for you?
Well, of course, the fellowship, but it's the hobby. The hobby's ability to take me to a different place than I am is what it's for me. If I'm working on something, it's sitting at the kitchen table, building the model. I'm in my own little world, which isn't always a good thing when you're trying to raise a family and stuff. But then when I'm in my basement, just watching the trains go around and having the cars that I grew up with on the layout and the era, I model 78, even though I was in my 20s in 78. But for me, it's almost like a time transport. I can go back and have things the way I like, with no graffiti, no trash, open auto racks, Conrail roller job paint outs, a lot of fallen flags still, and trailers on flat cars. That's just the era that I really, really enjoyed. And each person creates their own world, and just sometimes you can really immerse yourself into it.
Our buddy Uncle Dave Abelys, I think he makes a really good point. He says the great thing about the hobby of model railroading is like it's always there. If you're in a bad mood, it's there.
Right.
If you're in a good mood, it's there. If you don't go to it, if you leave it alone for a year and a half, you go back and it's there waiting for you like a faithful dog.
Doesn't get mad at you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. And I personally am always working on at least a dozen projects in both scales at once, and some of them get put aside for years, but they're always there, and I can come back and pick the same thing up, and and start working right where I left off.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
how about you, James?
And just think back to the COVID lockdown and how unhappy everybody else was, but model railroaders were some of the happiest people in the world.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
We were on the phone with each other every night and talking and modeling our butts
It gave
off.
me an excuse to stay home.
Yeah. I went upstairs one time about 6 months into it, and I knew something bad was about to hit me because my stepdaughter and wife were sitting in the living room looking not happy at me when I came up. And it basically boiled down to, this works out great for you, but it's not working out so well for us. What are you going to do about it?
I'll just stay in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Make everybody happy.
That seems like a familiar conversation.
Joshua's going to make an adjustment.
I did. James was muted.
Yeah, sorry, I had to cough earlier.
He scowled at me earlier, so I turned his mic off.
Quit muting people.
I'm muting. You're muted too.
Why am I muted?
Why
you're not.
Josh is in control.
Your microphone's just in your lap.
I feel like this is a presidential
exactly.
debate near ABC.
No.
Stop muting my microphone.
No politics, or I'll
no politics.
Yeah, we don't talk politics here.
Lionel?
Yes.
It wasn't political.
Why don't I have the ability to mute you on the AML?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Isn't Lionel the evil overlord? I mean, how can you mute him? That's not possible.
You can't. He's unmutable.
Yeah.
All right, smart guy. I'm going to turn my mic off and you do it.
No, don't leave. You're doing great. Keep up the good work.
Well, you know why I don't have my microphone muted, Brad?
Why?
Because at any time I'm liable to say Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
Yeah, they brought a drone.
Oh God,
They brought a drone.
Oh my God, get some pictures of my house, please.
That's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. Yep.
Check your roof.
Oh my God. Oh, B-roll. Give me a camera. Oh, Lord.
You're doing this right now,
No,
Ken.
no, where you can't get up and do
Ken.
other
I
things.
can do it through the window. Give me that camera.
Ken,
Answer his
pay
question.
attention,
Ken.
Ken.
Object.
B-roll, what?
Alert.
Could you
alert.
Could you not have? Do you not care? Isn't it kind of like I feel like I'm a second level friend here?
There's no chip.
This is a talk show, and you're trying to capture the actual personalities of the people you're interviewing. And what you
Okay, so we've established you're rude because you won't pay attention.
Has no attention.
Oh yeah, that's a given.
Just grab that chip on the edge. Yes.
This one?
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
I'm just doing something. I'm working a little bit here. Hold on.
Well, okay.
He's always working.
Can you describe?
You know,
the
Lionel,
magic of the
I
hobby?
texted you when I was on the way here, and I said that I would be 10 minutes later. So,
Right.
and I called Ken ahead of time, and James answered. I said, okay, get the computer turned on, get all the microphones out, get all the headphones out, and I'll be there shortly. And I come in, and everything's still off. So,
I wouldn't know where any of that stuff was.
I didn't know where any stuff was either. I relayed the message to Ken right then, and he continued caulking his door.
And right now, Ken's videotaping everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
While
Where are
we're
you?
doing
Where's
that.
the picture of you? Where's your picture? Give me
Yeah,
your on
there's
this
no
video.
picture of me. There's no picture of me.
Can you
Don't-
put yourself?
No, I'm not putting myself on.
I'm
Ken.
using this for tonight's show right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about the
well,
fact
then
that
you're going to have to sign a release and pay me some
Not-
large sums of
no.
money.
you can go ahead and sue me,
Lots
that's
of
fine.
zeros.
Plenty of
Lionel.
zeros.
Lots
Yeah.
of zeros. Exactly.
I am a very, I've learned
This is the exclusive property of the AML network. Any use without express written consent from the AML network is strictly prohibited.
Nice way.
Lionel, did you send that NIL paperwork over beforehand?
Yeah. So, James, give us your version of why this hobby, what it is about this hobby, because it's my lifelong search of trying to understand this, what makes this hobby so special.
Well, I mean, part of it is just I really like tinkering. So experimenting with electronics, 3D printing, a whole bunch of different things, and the possibilities with model railroading of just sort of creating your own world and being able to experiment with this and that from one week to the next is pretty awesome. It's also been a very fun aspect to find a community to share the hobby with. Growing up, it was very much a lone wolf thing. In fact, that was the idea, that model railroaders, they didn't hang out; they just kind of stayed in their basement and did model trains. And we'd go visit other friends that were into model trains now and then, but it seemed like we were few and far between. Then, after moving to St. Louis, first of all, I find K10's model trains, which is in Maryville. They have a huge layout operated by the public, an operating session once every month.
Where's this again? Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
It's K10's model trains. It's about a half hour from here.
Is that a hobby?
It's a hobby store.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a hobby store.
Yeah, in the basement or adjacent to it, they have a big layout.
Yeah,
it's in Maryville, Illinois.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a 60-foot by 70-foot layout space. Huge.
Yeah, Google it. It's K-10 model trains.
Okay. Why have I not heard of that?
I don't know.
Because you don't watch our show all the time. Because he talks about it a lot.
I have. I mean,
we've actually been there probably 4 or 5 times.
It was a man that flew medical helicopters. So he essentially spent his life saving lives. And when he retired relatively early and took all of his wherewithal and built this big warehouse building.
Yeah.
And he built this big train layout at the right height for children. It's 24 to 30 inches high.
They use kitchen cabinets as their bench work.
And then he also lives in the building.
Yeah.
Lionel, that layout would be right about at eye level for me, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot of Ken's found his shiny object again, by the way.
Attaboy, Ken. So what do you guys think? So as Ken pointed out, he doesn't think I listen to the show. So what do you guys think about how K10 is now going back to specializing exclusively in model trains? What do you think of that, Ken? What do you think of that, Ken?
You're on the website, huh?
I didn't hear you.
No, I'm not on the website. I just happen to know that.
Well, as a matter of fact, so they did have a dirt track out back where they had remote control cars that they'd also have remote control races once a month. That ran into problems with COVID, but also with the energy level of volunteers. And that they've also scaled back a little bit on the model train end of things too. For example, they used to have a first Sunday of every month. They'd have an open house where kids and their families could come in and run trains. Anybody who wanted to run trains could. And it was entirely volunteer staffed. And during COVID, several of the key volunteers passed away for various reasons.
Various reasons.
Well, there were some cases of cancer. There were some other cases. I'm not aware of any that were specifically COVID related.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I think
we don't want to talk about the death.
It's a thing of life. But at any rate, so they've scaled back on that, and they've scaled back in other areas too. But it's still running strong, and some of the more recent operating sessions have had attendance through the roof from anything we've seen before. So
Brad, I just had a brilliant idea.
Okay, these are the best. I'm ready to hear it.
I'm thinking we add a new segment to the show called James Reiger's Obituary Corner.
Oh my!
There's a lot of money in them.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's a good business.
it's a big undertaking.
Would we have room after Aviation Corner?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, now we're gonna dive deep. This is gonna everybody put your deep diving suits on. So Ken,
Yes, dear.
you've been. Don't call me dear ever again.
Yes, Lord.
Lionel. Do
Yeah.
you feel icky? Do you feel icky right now?
Yeah. Right now I feel icky. Yeah.
Show us on the dial where he touched you.
So Ken, how long have you been in this hobby? When did you start in this hobby? Ken?
He's thinking.
Ken?
When I grew up, so like from 0 to 4,
Okay.
I guess I saw my father in the basement building bridges and running trains around in a South City basement with the old stone walls and all the plumbing hanging from the ceiling. It was not a pretty place, but he managed to carve out a space and had a 1965, 67 layout. Yeah.
And did he have Lionel trains?
No, my grandparents had that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that would be around the Christmas tree whenever we went to their house.
Did he have Rapido on the right track?
I was just trying to help.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Mike. Only I can do that, Mike.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
so
it's
it's okay.
because of my
Okay.
father. It's
When
because
do
of
you
my
think? When do you feel like you really got interested in the hobby? Like, were you 8, 9, 10, 11? Has it been with you your whole life? Like, how did you feel like you were?
in fourth grade? I guess starting around fourth grade, I got my first Tyco train set.
Okay.
4x8. And that was like that friend you talked about that came and went, because sometimes I could care about it. But I don't know. The magazines helped incubate me, I would say, because I would go to Woolworth and get magazines. 1979, 78 maybe is when I really started taking it seriously and started really building stuff with my Tyco, and then got an Atlas bank set, train set when they made some deposit. So now I had another train set to work with. And then I met Lenny Applebaum down at the end of Susan Road riding my bike. I think I was in 5th or maybe junior high school, maybe. And he was a cop, and his car was air conditioned. And I knew all cops' cars were air conditioned, and I was hot. So I was going to stick my head in his window and have a conversation with this guy just to cool off, right? And on his seat was a model railroader magazine. So now I met a cop that was a model railroader, and I had stature. So I brought him home right away. I mean, I invited him up the driveway. He came in at the house. My grandmother was shocked, and he was looking at which was a bigger layout than a 16 by 12 foot Tyco layout, because I had built it using subdivision lumber from some subdivision around here. And oh my God, the pointers he gave me, he showed me why hornhook couplers were bad. I mean, the guy helped me for years. So through high school, I would get to sit in a patrol car with him and then get to be driven home from school with the lights on, and it was just cool stuff. Everybody thought I was a school narc. But I didn't care. Me and him were talking trains in the morning. And then I met another county officer that liked trains that was also at our school. And then I met Bill Farmer, my anthropology teacher, that had O-scale stuff in the library on display. And then he belonged to the Kirkwood Railroad Association. So I belonged to that club and the H.O. Gaugers for a while. And I didn't find any satisfaction in clubs. So I had to start my own. And we had a great club. Then I started messing around with the magazines in 88, trying to get published here and there. I don't know why, probably to promote the layout. And then it went crazy after that. Then I started doing ads for manufacturers and catalogs and articles. And the answer your original question you just asked all these guys, the answer for me is the personal sense of accomplishment that this hobby has given me. Whether I'm in the basement in 4th grade making my mountain from an egg carton, or whether I'm pushing the limits on a photograph that looks so real, I can't believe it, and I didn't use Photoshop. That to me is an art form. That brings me great satisfaction. And just the fact that after 35 years, you could figure out a way to maybe pay the bills and do it at the same time, so you could do it full time, 24 hours a day, build, create, make, meet people, do this kind of stuff. It makes you younger. It keeps you young. It keeps you active. And I love it. This job, whatever this job is, I love this job because it's something that I'm good at. Presentation and sales, I think.
Yeah, you're good at that. I'll give you credit for that. Absolutely. I had a really good question. What was it? I can't remember now. Keep talking, Ken. Oh, yeah, I know what it was. I know it was when you talked about model railroading being like an art form. I have this theory that I've just recently started to develop, and I'm interested, again, in some opinions. But I feel like one of the magic parts of model railroading is if you're like an oil and canvas artist, it's pretty easy for your stuff to look like crap if you're not very good at it. But if you're a model railroader, you can have any level of competency or capability and still enjoy the hobby. Does this make sense, Mike? Does this make sense to you? Like, I feel like, okay, you're a very, very good modeler. You're very, very good at creating car models and at 187th or 125th. Everybody acknowledges that fact. But don't you feel like people don't need to be as good as you to enjoy the hobby as much as you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're modeling for yourself, and, watching your own trains run around, you're making yourself happy is the whole reason you're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's funny that, I am an artist, and I was taking oil painting lessons when I was 10, when I got my first HO gauge set. This is like 1965. And I wanted to weather my cars, and I didn't have anything else to use, so I used my oil paints. And that's how I learned to do that. But the reason I got into trains to modeling was I felt too restricted in just drawing and painting. It was, I could draw something to look really realistic, but I couldn't look at it from every angle. And sculpture, I never got into that, but model building, to me, that's definitely art. To me, it's the way I express my artistic abilities.
Yeah, I think I've just kind of recently come to that conclusion of you can have different levels of ability in model railroading and still feel like you're capable to be in the hobby, which I think is a huge part of this hobby.
Right.
There's a place for everyone, even if it's just the person that puts their store-bought train onto the store-bought tracks to run it around in a circle around them. I mean, that's still a great part of the hobby, and everybody builds off of that one thing. Whatever their niche, whether it is interviewing people or weathering or this or that, it all comes from that first thing of seeing a train run around a track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Did Ken pass out?
Yes.
I think he's thinking again. I saw smoke.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
There's the microphone down by his belt.
Hey, can you
Okay.
And now he's waving the camera, and now he wants to take some video.
Yeah.
You're making a show. I'm not kidding, Ken. Any reproduction of this, any use of this podcast and reproduction is strictly
When
prohibited.
it goes red, perfect.
You know what? Court to me is like a game of chess, and I've got I've gotten pretty good at it.
Ken's really good.
I will tell you, and I tell you what, that was fun. I brought my podcast pencil with me and everything.
That's what got him through, boy.
I did it.
Buckle up, hopefully we go to sports stories.
No, that's a different story.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah.
The other podcast is all the courtroom models. None of my models ever actually made it into the courtroom. They all changed the cases.
Yeah, of course, because they see your model and they're like,
yep,
that's exactly what had happened. No, it wasn't that they could or couldn't win. It changed the strategy because now they could see it visually.
Right. And that changes everyone's mind frames visually.
It was fun to watch.
Paper.
There was more times than one that I had to say, am I still getting paid?
That's something we really, a lot of people don't really know is how much you did courtroom. Like, what do you call that? Where you're modeling certain buildings or things for court cases. What do you call that?
Oh my God! Intense fun, intense accuracy, very intense accuracy.
So you got in a helicopter and flew
that was
around
fun.
for one, didn't you?
Yeah, they flew me over my house. I got a picture of my house. That was awesome. But yeah, they flew me over the entire piece of property, which in the old days, we didn't have digital cameras. So Ron Rands was in the helicopter with me changing film in 2 cameras. And I'm shooting this place and the guy's going back and forth and security's following us around on the ground. So I had a scale for vehicles and everything right there at my fingertips.
Nice.
And then came home and built it. There was 7 or 12 models. I don't remember. There was a bunch of models over a period of years.
Including a full-scale SW 1500 pilot, wasn't it?
SW 1500 in the back of a Dash 9, full scale. I didn't return his phone calls for like a month. I didn't see how I could build a full-size replica, but he insisted and I did it.
All right.
I'm so proud.
The last thing we're going to cover for our friend Brad here, the co-host extraordinaire. Do you guys ever watch Jimmy Kimmel Show with Guillermo?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's very similar. He's about the same stature.
Okay. All right.
The two guys are interchangeable.
Thank you for that. Yes.
So my friend Brad here is a huge fan of NCE.
Oh, it works.
Oh yeah.
It does work, doesn't it?
And NCE is one of your major sponsors.
Jim's just an amazing man. The very first time I met Jim Scorse was on your podcast. When I heard that man speak, when that man opened up his mind on your show, I was so impressed that at the next 2 trade shows, I went to that booth asking for him. But I never actually got to talk to him.
That was a wonderful interview.
That guy's really smart.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's very intellectually intelligent. I'm impressed with him. And I guess that's why the product is so amazing.
The product is amazing, and that's part of the reason.
You know, when you think about it, I just made a post like this the other day. For somebody to have come out with the system that he came out with and got it so right on the first time, it really hasn't. I mean, it's had updates, but it hasn't. It's like I have a Wangro System 1, which NCE built for him. It was made in 1995, I think, and my throttles, my newest radio throttles that I use on my home layout, NCE Pro Cabs, will still work with that because everything just works so well right from the start that no drastic changes were made. And I love the story about how he came up with that. He was at an NMRA convention, wasn't he, Lionel?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of my favorite stories. It was at the NMRA National Convention in Philadelphia, and somebody gave a clinic about DCC. And that night, he left the convention and drove home to his home in just outside of Rochester because he was so excited he had to get home and start working on it. It's just
that's inspiration there.
Yeah. And it was like I think it was a very short time later. I mean, he had the system up and running and was ready to go to market with it. It really is an awesome story.
It really is, and super easy to use.
Yeah.
So easy,
and all the add-ons from the block detection to I have the USB adapter so I can use JMRI with it. I mean, it's bulletproof.
Yeah.
What are you doing now, Ken? What are you doing, Ken?
He's sharing.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Well, Joshua, you know what? I think we should call this episode, whatever number it is, and Mike, Budde, and Friends.
I like that. Mike, Buddy, and Friends.
There you go.
Okay.
This was a lot of fun, guys. It's great to meet all of you, and I enjoyed listening to
I
you.
think it's turned out really, really well. We got to do this again. Joshua, let's do this
Absolutely.
again.
I think we should.
Did you mute me?
No.
Is this over already?
Yeah,
What do you mean
I was
already?
wondering.
It's over an hour.
It's an hour and a half. We've been talking.
You do a show that's more than 30 minutes.
It's an
Ken
hour.
just woke up, guys.
Yeah. This was an hour and a half we've been talking.
Wow. Just seems like 6.
I know.
Nice. Touche.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, this was great, Lionel.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Thank you
Come
for
to
being
town
on.
and be on the show with us.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to be on the
I
show
will.
with you again. Is that what you said? Who's
Back,
that
hang
now?
around and be on our show tonight if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should.
We'll get you on Skype.
We got the sign guy down here. He just showed up.
I know.
right.
We
That's
ask
right.
him.
Scale here. Say hi to
Scale
Lionel.
signs.
Well,
Yeah,
ask him,
Oh,
Ken.
he wants you to be on the show. Here, talk to him.
Here. Oh, no, Ken's making
There you go.
adjustments.
Okay.
He's putting on his headphones. Let's see if this guy can. Let's see if this guy can hold his.
Sir, why don't you introduce yourself for the fans out there that are listening?
Yeah.
You're on A Modeler's Life podcast.
My name is Thomas Garza, and I'm owner of ScaleSigns.com.
And he knows how to hold a microphone.
That's
His
right.
name is
That's
the
right.
sign guy. He's
Yeah.
called the sign guy.
My name is now the sign guy. Yes, you guys got it. No, even the wife is calling me the sign guy. It's all over for
But
me
that's
now.
great. I mean, now you gotta you're a legend
Right.
already.
I can
That's
see
right.
some of his products there on the lower left of the screen. Very nice. Very
Amazing
nice.
products.
Okay,
Amazing.
can he hear me?
He can hear
I
you.
can hear
Lionel.
everybody, yes.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Officially now the sign guy, but on my birth certificate it would be Thomas Garza.
Yeah, don't get smart. Just give me your name. Mr. Garza,
Yes.
this is the first time I've ever done this in the entire 10-year history of the AML podcast, The Modeler's Life, which I'm assuming you've listened to all the shows and some of them twice.
I've listened to some of them.
Oh, have you really?
He's honest.
Oh, you're the guy.
Uh-oh. A couple.
Would you like to be a guest on my show?
I would love to be a guest on your show.
Okay, well, so before the night's over, Joshua is going to give you my phone number, or he's going to give me your phone number, and we'll text and arrange something.
Lionel, why don't you just send him a calendar invite?
Yeah, why don't I do that? Yeah.
That's right.
That's my story of the day. Is the guy Craig Fuller, the guy that bought Model Railroader, his assistant kept saying, "Send him a calendar invite on Google." I don't know how to do that. Just send him a calendar. I don't know how to do
Text.
that. Yeah.
I definitely love texting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So that's good. What we'll do, sign guy. We'll,
Sign guy. Yes.
I will make sure and swap your credentials.
Now you're saying your wife calls you the sign guy, even?
She does now. After I was at the St. Louis
Right.
RPM show, and Ken was telling me that when he got there, everybody kept telling me, "You got to go see the sign guy. You got to go see the sign guy."
Okay, I don't want to
And
be.
from there-
I don't want to be too personal. I don't want to be too personal. But is that in the bedroom as well, or just around the house?
Oh,
He's the sign man in the bedroom.
Yes.
The
There you go.
sign man.
I'm s-
Oh, boy.
Bank, he just signs checks.
Yes.
All right, that's it. We're done. We're going to stop now, guys. And I very, very much appreciate this. You did great. I think it went really, really well.
Okay.
And we're going to sign off now with Mike, Buddy, and friends.
All right. Thank
All
you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yep.
for
All right.
having all of us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
yep. Great to meet you guys. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice to
Likewise.
meet you as well.
That was lots and lots of fun.
Tons of
Right.
fun.
It was tons of
Well,
fun.
we'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Say goodbye.
All right.
Say goodbye, guys.
See ya.
Bye,
Goodbye,
everyone.
Goodbye, guys.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Happy
Bye.
trails.
Brad,
Lionel,
I'm exhausted.
me too. There's definitely some attention deficit hyperactivity disorder going on in that room. I can tell you that. They are a fun bunch, though.
Yeah, they are. They're not the fun bunch.
No, a fun bunch.
Yeah, that's right. We're the fun bunch.
Yep.
Oh my God. Actually, that went better than I expected.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, they got their audio going pretty good. I mean, even though Ken couldn't hold the microphone, he reminded me of Kelly. If you ever interview Kelly, Kelly's always dropping the microphone down around his belt. And it's like, hold the microphone up, Kelly. Hold the microphone up.
I liked it when you told him to tape it to his chest. No, I enjoyed that. They were fun.
Those boys enjoy the happy grass.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure there may have been a little bit of that going on. I think there was a reason why someone was hiding in the corner there.
You know what? I love Ken. I love his show. I love the guys. I love the whole atmosphere that he brings to the hobby. He is what a YouTube show should be for model railroading.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
He's a complete character, but that's okay. But that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
that's actually better than okay.
Yeah, it is. That's why he's the dude.
Yep.
He's in model railroading when it comes, and we didn't even scratch the surface talking to Ken. I mean, really, you got to have him on by himself.
Mm-hmm. But
I kind of enjoyed it with all four of them. That was kind of that's our first time we've ever done that, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was when you texted me. I thought it was just going to be him, but that was cool to have the other three guys there. They had a lot of good thoughts to share, and it was. Yeah, I agree. It was a good podcast.
Yeah, and our buddy Mike Budde, he's spelled Budde. He's a deep thinker.
Yeah. Like you and I are.
Yeah, Exactly. Yeah, we're nothing if not deep thinkers.
Yes. Speaking of deep, it's getting a little deep right now.
Yeah, exactly. Could you possibly give out our email address?
I would be happy to give out our email address to all those out there in internet land. If you enjoyed that podcast and want to tell us what you enjoyed about it, or if you have some constructive criticism on things that you feel we could improve, you can reach us through the magic of email at our email address, which is modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modeler with one L like St. Louis, not two L's like electric lettuce.
Electric lettuce. Back. Oh, we got it at the wall.
That's warning track power right there.
And if you miss that email address, if you go to our website, amodelerslife.com, which will see all the shows that have been on for the last 6 months and links to all sorts of stuff. You go to our website and scroll down to the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state. All you can do is click on the picture and boom, the email address is filled in for you. Brad,
it's very convenient.
Yeah, that's the only thing we should have had those guys. I think it would have gotten messy if we did this part with those guys.
I think you're right. Yes. Sloppy might be a better word.
Yeah, sloppy. Yeah. Brad, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
I have. I absolutely have. I own 2 of them, but I've worn them so much that I actually ordered 2 to replace them this week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which colors did you go with?
I got the dark blue one and the maroon one.
Oh, you're kind of partial to that maroon, aren't you?
I love the maroon. Yeah, the one shirt that you give to Patreon members, it's maroon in color. I just love the looks of that shirt. So
yeah, that one turned out good.
Yeah, but I also have like the AML oval decal. I have that one in maroon too. The T-shirt's maroon.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And speaking of T-shirts, if you like this podcast, which is on Monday and it's free, if you'd like twice as much podcasting every week, if you go to our website again, modelerslife.com, and click on the Patreon link, boom, you'll find out that every Tuesday there's also another podcast, which is more of our back porch, relaxed, Andy of Mayberry kind of podcast where we don't really have many rules. We pretty much let it happen. All of our viewer mail is answered over there. It's just a fun time. It
is
like being in a locker room with the boys.
Yes. Do you want to go back and tell people where they can get the hot dog with the T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Okay, I thought you were probably headed that way, but I interrupted you. I think.
I don't think so. I think I'd forgotten that part altogether.
Okay.
I'm pretty dizzy from the last hour and a half.
Yeah, it did have that effect. Yes.
So yeah, if you go to a Midwest Model Railroad and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com and go across the navigation bar to Other and click on the drop-down menu, you'll see the AML shop, and boom, you are in a wonderland of AML merchandise: hats, hoodies, mugs, T-shirts, and in there you'll find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
That's where I found mine.
In various colors.
Yes.
And let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, we were on talking about Patreon. So for $5 a month, or a few cents a day, you can get twice as much podcasting a week. But if you go to the T-shirt level, there's a new game show you can enter, which is basically sweeping the globe. It's huge. It's huge. People say that they've never seen a game show bigger than this one.
I don't think there's ever been a game show that the sun never sets on, but yeah. I believe that's happening with this.
Exactly. And it's called "Hey Dude, Where's My Shirt?" So
it fits right in with the interview we just did because the dude was there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we put him in charge of the T-shirt game. So basically, the way that game works is if you remember the T-shirt level, every year you get a T-shirt that's only exclusive to Patreon members. And the trick is the person that's in charge of sending out the T-shirts is what's a good word to use? Useless. And the shirts lately the shirts have been going out better, but he's struggled for years trying to figure out a way to keep track of who got them and who hasn't. And he realized
you had to open the Australian distribution center.
Exactly.
That cleared a big backlog.
And we discovered that he always kept going when he got halfway done or a third of the way done or 2/3 of the way done. And he'd leave it for a while. He'd go back to the top of the list and start again. And it was just a big mishmash. So then he came up with a color-coded system where everything's working much better now. And so eventually you get your T-shirt, which, of course, is where the name of the show came. Hey, dude, where's my shirt?
Yeah, it's not a question of if you're going to get your T-shirt.
No,
it's when.
It's when you get your T-shirt. Some people end up getting 2 or 3 T-shirts because they haven't had it for a while. But
if you have a name similar to another Patreon member, you could end up with a whole bunch of T-shirts like one guy did.
With it don't fit.
Yes.
And Jeremy Reese, I know you're listening to this. I got a whole bunch of shirts for you. And I think that's it, man. I think we've covered it all.
Wonderful.
I'm pretty sure we've covered it all. I think we.
I can't imagine that there was anything that we missed and all that.
So can we talk about your loyalty to the program?
Sure.
This was all planned out very loosely about a month ago when I was on the Dude Show, and I said, "Hey, you guys should be on the show." Okay, we'll do it. And they picked a day, and I went, sure, thinking I would never hear from these guys again about this particular. And so I never heard from them again until about 3 hours before showtime. And the dude sends me a text going, "Hey, are we still doing this show?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, if you're available, sure, let's do the show." And Joshua Barton was kind of in charge of getting them all wrangled together. And we actually pulled it off to my shock. But then I didn't. I was like, well, I can do this on my own. But of course, it would be much better if we had the stubby professor or Kelly or the mailboy. And
somebody to serve as wingman for the evil overlord.
Exactly. And because sometimes the evil overlord runs out of things to say or needs to take a breath or just loses interest.
or chokes on a cookie.
Or chokes on a cookie. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't do a show without a cookie.
No.
So I contacted Brad, and I said, "Hey, blah 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 blah," and he goes, "Not me, man. I'm passing a kidney stone."
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I never had one before, but my brother gets them, and I asked him what it feels like, and it described how I was feeling to a T.
Really?
And let me tell you, out there in AML land, if you never had one, don't get them. They suck. The funny thing is, my buddy Toffee is suffering from one right now too, and I was asking him a bunch of questions about him through text this morning. So, Pat, if you hear this, I hope yours is done too, because it sucks for sure.
Well, you know what? I'm eating a cookie now.
Oh, are you? Don't choke.
No, it's pretty rude to do.
I didn't even know.
I thought your story was going to be a tad longer.
Oh, sorry. No, about, I don't know what time it was when it finally, I mean, I'm still a little bit pain, but nothing like what it was. It started like last night, and then this morning was kind of okay, but I was sitting on the edge of a bed, and all of a sudden I think that's when it started to move, because I started feeling this pain in my side, like not fun at all.
Wow.
But
I've been knock on wood, I've been lucky enough to avoid that.
Yeah. Well, my problem is I have to remember to take a water bottle along with me to work, because like my schedule, I start right at 7:45 and I don't get a break till my lunch period is like after 1:00. So I just have to remember to drink water through the day. But like I said, I've never had one before, so I hope this isn't going to start to become a regular occurrence. But
yeah, me too, because you're an intricate part of the AML crew now, and you have to be available at a moment's notice.
Like a minute man that's ready to go at the drop of a dime, right?
Yeah, being on the AML crew is like working at the local firehouse.
Yeah,
when the alarm goes off, man, you got to go.
There's no friggin' time for kidney stones.
Yeah, exactly. So you said that possibly Toffee, your friend Patrick Moore, might be suffering from the same thing. And if he hears, and you said, if you hear this, I hope you're over it. If he's not over it by the time he hears this, he's probably dead.
Well, let's hope that doesn't. Yeah.
We're a few weeks out from when this will be broadcast. True. So let's hope that he's hearing this.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be. He has had them before, so he's been through it before.
Okay, there you go. I think that's it, buddy. I think we're done.
Sounds good. Thanks for letting me be your wingman. It was a lot of fun meeting those guys.
I'm dizzy.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You know what? I'm dizzier than a trout in a blender.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Well, Brad, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.